What's up, everybody? Josh Armijo here. I hope everybody's doing good and well and stuff. I got an album review to do for you, and I'm going to be talking to you about the new album from the band Incantation, entitled Profane Nexus. This is released on Relapse Records. Now, if you're not too familiar with this band, they are based out of Johnstown, Pennsylvania, and honestly, I don't really need to say too much other than what I've already talked about in this band in the past. This band is one of the most crucial, important, and legendary bands to have ever existed out of US death metal. Really amazing body of work, incredible full-length albums, consistent professionalism, consistency in making great full-length albums. Just the total package for classic death metal sounds, especially this band's early 90s output with their very first two albums, Onward to Golgotha, Mortal Throne of Nazarene, even the EPs, the classic EP stuff they did back in the early 90s. Later full-length efforts like Diabolical Conquest, Blasphemy, Decimate Christendom. I mean, just a really able body of work this band has done throughout the years. I mean, of course, with the times, this band did a lot of changing, a lot of lineup changes, a lot of aesthetic style changes, but still very much classic, old-school rooted death metal. And in 2012, I believe Incantation bounced back with a massive vengeance with an album like Vanquish and Vengeance. Really fantastic songwriting, very hard work ethics going on with that album, and even the album that came after that in 2014 with Dirges of Elysium. Really tremendous death metal records, and Incantation has since been continuing on the warpath to make really awesome death metal, play great live shows, and just continue to prove why they've been as legendary and as consistent as they have been over the years. But it appears that this band has gone full circle in a way. They're back on their original label, and here we are with their 11th full-length album. I believe this is their 11th full-length, entitled Profane Nexus. It's 11 tracks, and it clocks in at around 42 minutes, and pretty much once you listen to this album and you hear the opening riffs on the track Muse, you pretty much know that this is going to be Incantation business as usual. Nothing more, nothing less, but you do notice a little bit of different things going on here as soon as you progress forward throughout this album. One thing I will say about Profane Nexus is that I think that this is probably one of the most modernized and sleekest sounding Incantation records I've heard in quite some time. There's just a certain newness about this album's presentation, from the way every music part sounds, the way every riff is delivered, the way the vocals are. I really think that this is a well done sort of production job here for this record. I think Dan Swano is behind it, and I think he really does a great job bringing out the best in this band's sounds, even if it has a little bit of that cleanly sort of touch. It's not cleanly to the point where I feel it's distracting, but still I think that this is a very, very fine production job going on here. But let's run right on to what Incantation is best known for, delivering some very, very memorable music, and Profane Nexus is no different. You get some of the usual Incantation riff styles going on here, very distorted, crazy, nasty sounding riffs, almost paranoid to a certain extent, to the more mid-paced, slower, lumbering sort of riffs. I mean, you hear it on tracks like Rites of the Locust and Visceral Hexahedron. Just some really fantastic guitar riff work going on in those songs, especially the lengthier moments of this album. I think on the track Incorporeal Despair, that's where you get a little bit of that slow, doomy sort of feeling going on with that with this band, and you get those really dark, dirty, lumbering sort of riffs going on here. I think it really sounds wonderful. I really appreciate the riffs when they're at their most heightened and their most suspenseful, and there are quite a lot of those to be heard on this album. Moving on to later songs like Luce Sepulchri and Omens to the Altar of Onyx. Just some really top-shelf riff work going on here, and the bass work on here is very good too. A nice accompaniment for the heaviness that is presented and displayed throughout the majority of Profane Nexus. Just a good bass line through and through. Sounds good. very well established throughout. The drum work on here is something else that sounds a little bit more contemporary and up-to-date, but still, I think that this is Kyle Severn doing what Kyle Severn knows how to do, and that is just be a really badass drummer. And here on this album, you get the more fast sort of efforts. You get a lot of great fills and blast beats and double bass and everything. The slower, doomier parts, going back to songs like Incorporeal Despair, to later tracks like Messiah Nostrum and the closer of this record, Ancients Arise. Just a lot of great facets to come out of this drum performance here. It's a really awesome and well-established drum performance. And when it comes to the vocals, it's typical John McEntee at his best here. Very angry, a lot of great growls going on, a little bit of a primal rage going on here with his vocal styles. You get a little bit more intensity and fury going on here, especially with his delivery, his wordplay. It just really sounds awesome, and he really does command your attention and continue to prove why he has been the voice of Incantation for the last several records. It's just a really amazing vocal performance. Hearing him do his thing on Visceral Hexahedron, to Los Sepulchri, even the 1 minute long track, Zype Toltec, that's a very nice little inclusion to see how fast this band can really go with a 1 minute long death metal track. I think that's a really cool addition to this album, and his vocal work on there is very badass to hear. So overall, this is another album in a very consistent discography from this band. Incantation always deliver the goods, in my opinion. I don't know how I would compare it to the previous two Incantation records, because I believe both of them hit very hard. This album hits hard too, but for its own different sort of reasons. Like I said, this is probably one of the most contemporary and modernized sounding Incantation records yet. But I still hold it in high regards like I would any other Incantation record. This is a very awesome death metal record, one of the very best of the year. We'll see how far this goes along on my year-end list before this year is over. So if I had to think of any favorite tracks, I would definitely have to say Muse, Visceral Hexahedron, Los Sepulchri, Messiah Nostrum, and Omens to the Altar of Onyx. Yeah, and try saying the instrumental track of this album 5 times fast. Stormgate Convulsions from the thunderous shores of infernal realms beyond the grace of God. Try saying that fast. I hope you pass that. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave you a link in the description box as to how you can get a hold of this album and listen to it. I will leave you a link to the Incantation Bandcamp page where you can listen to this album in its entirety, hear it for yourself, and be your own judge as to whether you think it's worthy of being purchased or not. You can stream it by digitally, and it is available in multiple physical formats, CD, 12-inch vinyl, and I will also link you to the Incantation official web store where you can do some direct band support and get some t-shirts and CDs and records from them if you want to do it from them. And this band is currently on its second leg of North American touring with Marduk. They have Abysmal Dawn this time around, and there should be a lot of fun and great stuff happening with this leg of the tour. So if you happen to see Incantation live, see them live. They're amazing. So again, the album is Profane Nexus by Incantation. This is released on Relapse Records. Go check this out. And for a score, I'm going to give this a very solid 9 out of 10. Very awesome death metal from one of the legends and greats of US death metal. So if you happen to have heard this album, definitely let me know what you think about it, how you feel about it, and how you think it compares to previous Incantation albums. How do you rank this in their discography? Are any of you guys into Incantation? I'm pretty sure there's about 5 or 6 of you in my subscriber base that are into this band. There could be more, but I'm not sure. So let's talk about it. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for checking out my channel. And until next time, Armijo out.